5. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So this is the Clinical Consultation Network. Happy New Year, everybody! Glad you could be here with us today. This is wonderful to be back with everybody in the new year, and we've got such a great lineup for you today because we have Charlene and we have Danielle Osborne and there's Alyssa. Is that right? Did I get your name right? Your support person over here?
Melissa.
Melissa. Okay, Melissa. And so glad to have you guys here today. And I want to give you a chance here in just a second to introduce yourselves. But just want to really welcome you here to the Clinical Consultation Network and want to hear so much about what you've been able to accomplish, Charlene and Danielle together. So Danielle, do you want to start us out with introductions and tell us a little bit about yourself? And don't forget, now, when everyone introduces themselves, they have to give a, kind of a little special fact about themselves that we can, things other people might not know about you.
Well, I'm Danielle, and I work here in the Greenville Seating and Positioning Clinic, and I'm one of the 2 OTs that are here, and Estelle and I'm my co-worker. We treat all the individuals that are referred in this area, and I have worked here for 4 years. This has been just the best, the most rewarding job that I've probably ever had, and I love it so much. I've been an OT for almost 9 years. Next month will be 9 years. And before coming here, I had some history in inpatient rehab, field nursing, and then assisted living. But I love this setting. I love these people that we support, and I just think this is probably one of the most rewarding jobs I've had. But I'm married to my favorite fireman, and we have 2 girls. And I guess a little unknown or odd fact about me is that my husband and I have a daughter who was born before we met.
Okay. I've gotten wise enough to not ask further probing questions about those things unless you're willing to explain.
Yes, we adopted our daughter, our oldest daughter, through foster care. So she was technically probably about 11 months old when we met. We didn't know her then. We didn't meet her till she was 6. But so people ask all the time, well, how long have you all been married? And we're like, we'll tell them that, well, how old is your daughter? So people give us funny looks all the time, but because she was born before we even knew each other.
Well, that's a great hook, the way you told that. I really appreciate that. That's fantastic. And you have 2 daughters. I can relate to that. I had 2 daughters myself, so that can be challenging at times, I know.
Well, so if you survived, then maybe I can too.
Oh yeah, you can definitely survive it. You might not be in the same shape you were in when you started, but you will survive it, I think.
Good to know.
Well, that's great. And you have here with you today, Charlene.
I do. My cameraman's going to give the camera to her so that you can hear her and see her well. But yes, a good friend, Charlene, who has been coming to see us for a while here at the clinic, and I'll let her tell you about herself.
Hi, Charlene. How you doing? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Charlene Marie. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee.
You were born in
Yes, I
Nashville?
was.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. That's where you're from?
I'm really from Kim, County. We are from Nashville.
On the other side of Nashville.
Kim County.
Okay.
I'm really from on the other side of Nashville.
From the other side of Nashville?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was born Baptist Hospital.
Okay. So you have you been coming to the seating and positioning clinic for a good while?
Yes. How many years, Daniel?
Probably 2.5.
2.5 or 3 years.
Okay, okay. So you've had a lot of experience with them.
Yes, I have.
Okay, so
I love Daniel and my friends too.
okay, well that's great. I know they've really taken care of you down there, hadn't they?
Yes, they have.
That's great. Now, do you have an interesting fact about yourself that you want to share, or you didn't already let the cat out of the bag, did you, beforehand?
What do you mean?
Well, you were talking about your cats before. I didn't know if that was your interesting fact or if you had something different you were going to tell us about.
I found out I got 5 sisters, but one going dead.
Did you say you have 5 sisters?
Yeah, she just
Yes.
recently, in the last 2.5 years, just discovered that she had that many sisters out there.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so they just got reconnected about 2.5, 3 years ago. So
Oh,
yeah,
man.
lots of sisters, lots of sisters.
That is fantastic.
Thank God for reading the Bible.
Um,
Thank God for reading the Bible.
yes, thank God for Vicky Bible. She assisted her in finding her sisters.
Well, that's fantastic. So you have some family members you didn't even know you had.
Yes.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, those ancestry searches turn up a lot of good stuff.
Yes, they have.
Lots of sisters, didn't it, Charlene?
Yes, they have.
So you got to go meet them all? Did you get to go meet them all?
She's met,
I met 2 of them.
no, you-
2 of them? Okay. So
3
you got
of them. 3
3
of
of
them.
them. Okay. Well, that's fantastic. Well, that is a very interesting fact. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Well, let's Danielle, are you going to start us off, or how do we proceed from here?
Yeah, I'll start us off and I'll kind of tell you a little bit about the background and how we came to get to know Charlene and kind of our part of the story, and then we'll let her tell you a little bit about her part of the story. Charlene she's a very busy lady in the community. She works and volunteers at the hospital. This was obviously prior to COVID, but so she's a busy gal who is on the go a lot and does a lot in our community. You used to, yeah. So Charlene was referred to us here at the clinic, and I was very new at that time. I hadn't been here very long. And Charlene came in a manual chair with just a commercial seat and back, and her chair was just a standard straight chair. And she was very uncomfortable in the chair. The initial referral was for a new seat and back. So when she came in, of course, we do a mat eval and we do a thorough assessment to try to figure out, if her chair needs to be modified or if her chair is beyond repair, if she's eligible for a new chair. And so we look at all that and we did her evaluation and tried to figure out what we could do to that chair to get her by, and then try to figure out what we needed to do for her. Charlene had gained some weight and she had been having a lot of pain in her lower back, and she was just not comfortable in the chair, and she had some trouble with propulsion. The right wheel she wasn't able to reach at all, and the left wheel she could reach some. So her mobility was fairly limited, just with the setup of that wheelchair. So we talked to Charlene, and I consulted with the regional PT who was a good friend of hers and who has known her for a long time. And I went to him one day and I was like, Randy, I was like, let's think about power for Charlene. Let's see if she would be interested in power. Let's talk to Charlene, talk to her caregivers. So, we approached it as a team, and we all spoke and got on the same page, and we just talked to Charlene and we were like, hey, would you be interested in Power Mobility? We think you would be a great candidate. You know, we know that you can drive it. You know, it'll help so much with your mobility if that's something that you're interested in. So she talked to her caregivers and she came in for an appointment, and we did some demonstration. You know, we showed her a power chair that a vendor loaned us and was going to let her borrow. So we did some training with that, and she did a good long trial here in the clinic. So, you know, we practiced navigating through doorways and hallways and obstacles, and just things that, you know, we would need to know, you know, we would need to see to know if she would be an ideal candidate for it. And she was. And so at that time, the vendor was able to let her borrow a chair so that she could take it home and practice at home. And the regional PT followed up with that. So she tried it. She and her caregiver reported that she loved it, and she wanted to go forward with Power Mobility. So we spec'd the chair that we all thought would be best for her, and the rest is history. Charlene has taken off, and she's all over the place in this new power chair, and she's done so well. And she absolutely loves it, and it has literally changed her life. She can get around so much better, and she's able to do more, you know, out in the community, go into the hospital to volunteer. You know, she doesn't have to rely on her caregiver to push her in her wheelchair, because in her manual chair, she could propel okay with her left arm, not really functional with her legs and not with her right arm. So it was a lot of work, and it really did she had some fatigue after, you know, not a long time of mobility. So this has helped her so much to be able to do more.
Now, Danielle, let me ask you this question, because in this time, you know, with power wheelchairs being so, you know, readily available for most people, it's hard for me to think about too many people choosing to remain in a unpowered wheelchair. But isn't this like a choice that most people are making at this point to go to a power wheelchair, or are there circumstances where it's more appropriate to use an unpowered wheelchair?
There are definitely circumstances where it's more appropriate for manual. Obviously, you have to have the cognitive function to be able to operate the chair safely and well. Another thing to keep in mind is your home. You know, if your home is not set up for a power chair, you know, you've got small doorways, narrow hallways, it just wouldn't be feasible. And also, you have to have a way to transport it. If you don't have a van with some kind of lift for it to go up in, then it wouldn't work.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So what's next? Is Danielle is Charlene going to talk to us a little bit now?
Yeah, we'll let Charlene and her caregiver kind of tell you about what she does for her work and out in the community, and just how her chair has helped her.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So do you want to just start off by telling them, you know, some of the things that you use your power wheelchair for, like when we was volunteering, maybe?
When I was volunteering, but I don't volunteer no more. After the cover hospital, and I've been able to make papers for other people's flowers when I was there volunteering.
When she
So
was working, she was volunteering over at the hospital. Being in her electric wheelchair, she was able to control it. She was able to go on each floor and deliver newspapers. It just really enhanced her life and being able to do them things.
yeah, so that's what you do, volunteer work. You'd go to the hospital and deliver things to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. Yeah, so you were able to do that a lot better when you had a power wheelchair.
And I used to do it
Till the COVID.
before the COVID hit.
No, yeah.
I love my job. I used to love my job. Bill.
So, Charlene, are you able to get around places a lot better now that you have your power wheelchair? Like you can get, you can go different places, like in the hospital, but other places too. Like, where are there some other
Yeah.
places you've gone? Yeah. Like, what are some of the
Yeah.
other places you've gone?
I used to Walmart, grocery stores,
Grocery
and
stores,
Shopping,
the
shopping.
Walmart shopping.
shopping. Yeah.
I follow Melissa. If Melissa give me a finger, I go behind her with a finger.
She's awesome with my hand signs. She's just, if I know we need to slow down and I do this, she knows let's slow down and, she's amazing. She goes to the local parks, she's able to maneuver herself around on like the trails and stuff that we walk. So yeah.
I put it in the D3.
She don't play around. She's moving around very well in it.
I don't come
Not too fast.
to
Not too fast. How fast will it go?
Is it 3 miles?
Does it go really fast or does it go just kind
I
of
think
fast?
it's
Wait.
3 mile an hour.
Okay.
That's the fastest.
3 miles an hour?
Yeah, but let me
All right.
go that fast. I like that.
Yeah,
All
mess
right.
with that one too often.
But let
Well,
me
that-
go that for me.
That's super. And so I bet you feel a lot more like you're able to do things on your own now, having a power wheelchair.
More independent, yes.
Yeah, that's great. More independent. Yeah. So that's wonderful.
I want to do more stuff for myself. Oh,
You'd like to do more things for
I,
yourself.
I want to do more stuff for myself, I mean.
So-
Then stuff always help me. So,
Yeah. Well, that'll make you feel better about yourself when you can do a lot more stuff for yourself. Yeah, and be more independent.
I'm trying to be here.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you've been able to have that wheelchair to help you with that. And so, how does it operate? Do you have like a handle on it or something that you
Yeah.
turn it with?
I'm gonna show you how to do it.
She's gonna show you, she's gonna give you a demo here.
Oh, okay. I see. So it's got a little joystick right there that you operate. Yeah. Oh, wow. You can drive that thing too, can't you?
Yeah, she's showing you how it.
All right.
So this helps her.
Oh, so it'll tilt back too.
Yes.
All
You can recline. It's a recliner.
of that.
Now, I'd like that feature. That's a feature I use at my house every night when I'm watching TV.
You want to show how you drive? So right now,
Well, all right. So, oh, wow. Look at you. And you're turning?
yeah.
That thing, okay, so it'll turn and it'll go straight forward and go 3 miles an hour. It's got a lot of nice features. Is it comfortable, Danielle? I mean, Charlene?
Yes.
Is it, so it feels good.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest things I've found about people who go to the seating and positioning clinic. They get equipment that helps them feel more comfortable, and you know that it doesn't hurt when you have to sit down in it. So that's great. All right. So Danielle, are you going to tell us anything more, or is there?
I was just going to add that, you know, when we did our assessment and we thought that she was a great candidate for it. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into play with that. There's some training that needs to be done, and in this case, it was, you know, we did some here in the clinic, and she was able to show that she was proficient in use of it. But we thought it was very important that she used it in her home because, you know, it's one thing to do it here in front of a bunch of people, and you know, our clinics are usually fairly open, so we always do, you know, make people try doorways and hallways and things. But we felt like it was very important for her to use in her home, so that she could see if she even liked it. Prior to this, she did not ever have a power chair or had never used one or known about one for herself. So it's a big change. There's a lot to consider. But she did so well with it in her home. You know, when they came back, they were like, she needed some cues for safety, but we all feel like, you know, she didn't need physical assistance. And obviously, over time with practice, you know, if you've never used a power wheelchair before, I don't know if many of you all have been in one, but we have some here. So every now and again we practice, but it is tough, especially the whole backing and just, it's very nerve wracking when you're trying to go through doorways and you're so close, but you're like, what do I do? So there's a lot to it to consider. But we've kept up with Charlene throughout the years, and we've not got to see her a whole lot, especially this year. But I always keep up with her to see how she's doing, and because she's such a joy to know.
Now, with this, with the power chair that you guys worked on, did you have to make any modifications to the chair? Because you had talked about comfort changes that you had made.
Yeah.
What kind of changes had you made to the wheelchair to make it fit for Charlene?
So when we spec'd for the power chair, she got a new seat and back. She got a seat that helped her be supported in a more upright position, and a cushion that was better for her bottom, you know, to protect her skin and help with to control pressure and things like that. Another thing is we had to make sure that we got her a chair with tilt, because we were thinking that with the tilt that it would alleviate some of the pressure on her lower back, and it has proven to do that. But also Charlene has lost a significant amount of weight, so her pain has decreased a lot from that. But you can also see that, you know, if her back is sore, she can recline back to get some of the pressure off of her sacrum and her ITs and her lower back. So that was a feature that we thought was very important. And every time I ask, she's comfortable, she doesn't have pain, and that's what we like.
Did she have to have the cushions molded at all? Because I know you guys do that, but maybe it's not required in every circumstance.
Right, we do, and that's a case-by-case thing, you know, based on the assessment of their spinal curvature and their any kind of postural asymmetries or range of motion limitations. But the most cost-efficient and cost-effective way that we could go about it that would meet her needs was commercial. So that's what we did for her, and it's worked out great for her.
Yeah, so as long as you're able to find the equipment that fits the person, you don't necessarily have to make all those types of adjustments or
Right.
That's
Right. It is
great.
an option, but she didn't need it. So for now, we're going to keep her in what she's in, as long as she's happy, comfortable, and she doesn't have any skin breakdown.
I'm going to pull in my co-host, Karen Wills, right now. If she will come on with us here. She has shut her camera off for some reason, but Karen, I just wondered if you had any questions that you wanted to ask at this point.
Well, Danielle and I were talking ahead of time, and, you know, there are specific requirements, especially power chairs are obviously more expensive than manual chairs, and so insurance will pay for those, but they have certain requirements. I just find it amazing that, you know, Charlene waited so long to be able to transition to power, you know, and I just applaud those folks, everybody who is supporting her in identifying that and moving forward on that. You know, one of the things also that it brings to mind just for people to think about is, you know, I think about some of the really old things like requiring people to learn how to tie their shoes, for example. Well, historically, there's often a kind of understanding that somebody is going to lose, you know, function and strength if they're not pushing a power chair. But, you know, I think we've really tried to get beyond that, because if you think about it, and like Danielle said, you know, for Charlene, it was such an effort. And, you know, I think we can all relate to having to do something that just fatigues us and maybe makes us kind of grumpy by the end of the day, but giving them independence and an easier way to get around gives you so much more energy to do other things. And she obviously is a very busy lady, so, and likes to be out and about.
You mentioned that there was a reluctance for Charlene when she first went to the power chair. Tell me, maybe Charlene wants to tell us more about that. Charlene, were you not sure about getting a power chair when you first got it? Were you thinking maybe you just liked what you had?
I was, yeah. Sorry.
At first, if you were saying.
I was over the bus.
Uh-huh. So it took you a little while to get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that you have one too.
Oh, she had a roommate.
Okay. So it's important for people to know you have to get used to something like that. You can't just do it all. You might not necessarily want to do it all at the beginning, but then after a while you get where you like it a little bit better and a little bit better, and then finally it's something you really like.
I love it now.
Yeah. That's amazing how that happens. I think that's something that a lot of times we give up on something, you know, but we really just need to give somebody some more time to get used to it. Do you think that's true?
I bet never up.
Danielle or Melissa, I'm not sure which one of you is talking, but we can only hear you when you're in front of the computer. Sounds like one of you are talking in the background.
That's our lovely producer, Michelle Bagby. So that was great, Charlene. Thank you for sharing that. Danielle, did you observe anything in Charlene that, you know, showed her reluctance to want to move into this? And then maybe describe from your perspective how you help her get more accustomed to the chair, and you know, so that she now to the point that she really loves it.
Yeah, I don't know that she was too terribly reluctant. She was just a little nervous because if I get in one and show you how to move it around in here, I'm going to hit something because I don't know how to use one well because I'm not used to it. It's a huge learning curve. But with the instruction and the practice and, the cueing and just making sure that she felt comfortable using it here and outside in open spaces, let her get used to that. And then you kind of work up to like the smaller areas. We would set up pieces of furniture or whatever to maneuver around to simulate being in your home. I think a lot of it just has to do with practice and obviously, if the person is not motivated or has no desire to use one, then certainly you wouldn't want to pursue that and go down that road.
It never helps to try to do something that somebody's just totally against, that they're not.
Right.
That they're going to do. But I actually, in circumstances like that, sometimes I feel like if you can continue to just expose somebody to the opportunity, sometimes they come around to it, but if you try to push it too hard all at once, it's definitely going to fall flat under those circumstances. So it sounds
Right.
like that's the way you guys operate over there in the seating and positioning clinic. Karen, any other commentary or questions that you may have?
Well, I'm just thinking, I don't know if people that are on this time have also saw the interview we did with Beth, who was driving the iDrive, but certainly these are, two ends of the spectrum, and Charlene is driving with a joystick, which is probably, I would say, the most standard basic element, and then, from that, you move up into technology in terms of switch driving, and then, certainly the ability to use the eye gaze systems, which are pretty incredible. So I think, again, I think that certainly through the therapist's assessment, they have to do their assessment, they have to get a lot of input, and make determinations of whether power is appropriate. But I think one of the nice things about our clinics is they're used to working with people that have more involvement, so they're a little more able to maybe identify when power that might be a little more complex and be able to accomplish trialing that with individuals. So again, I can see the comments in the chat box. People are just, it's so exciting to see somebody be able to gain the independence, and not just be able to do stuff, but to be able to be more on their own. And it sounded like maybe she was able to even be more independent within the hospital when she was volunteering, and that's just an incredible opportunity for her. I know, Michelle, you're better at reading the chat, but I know there's a couple of comments in the chat. A couple of them were mine, and she addressed that, which was one about, the power recline is a great function, but it's very functional in terms of pressure relief, and getting to the point where somebody can do that by themselves means that they can relieve that pressure when they need it relieved, not just when somebody who's supporting them, has the ability to, to tilt them and recline them. So that adds a whole nother level to that independence.
Hey, Karen. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I think,
sounds like Jennifer.
Too, yeah, that's me. It's me. I think, too, it's important to point out that our clinics are so well designed and well equipped to be able to spend that extra time with people to really assess them and determine that they are able to use these types of equipment, because other clinics wouldn't really have that privilege. So it's a great honor to be able to spend that time and have multiple appointments and be able to really determine what is the best for that person. And I just wanted to say that kudos to Danielle for sure for spending that time and taking the time to really see her for what she could do. And it's a great privilege that we have.
I'm glad you brought that up, Jennifer, because I think it is one of the real strengths of the seating and positioning clinics that you're able to experiment a lot more, and work with people a lot more to discover what might be useful for them. Have you found that to be true, Danielle?
Definitely, most definitely, because she could have came as many times as she needed to feel comfortable or to make a decision about it. It would not have been a problem. We would have supported her either way. We would have been happy for her either way. And sometimes it takes longer for people to get the hang of it, and that's all right. Another thing that is very beneficial to us is we have access to vendors, and the fact that a vendor let us borrow a chair for her or let her borrow a chair is wonderful. We have access to different types of joysticks. There's so much that goes into it. If this joystick had been different and she didn't have as much function in her hand, this particular one wouldn't have worked for her. So even being able to look at options for joysticks, or like the iDrive for the other person that Karen was talking about, being able to access all these options is so helpful. Because you don't have to say, well, nope, you can't do it. There are options and there are ways. And one thing that this is just my own personal 2 cents, but a lot of people say, well, I need to stay in a manual chair because this is how I get my exercise. There are other ways to exercise, and if you're spending all of your energy on your mobility, you don't have as much energy to do the other stuff that you want to do or that you need to do. So I think that's a great reason for power.
Yeah, that's an excellent point you're making there about, it's not like just, having to do this a little bit every day. Everywhere you go, you're having to use this use this kind of intense method to have to move. And especially if it's difficult for you, can be sapping your energy across the course of the day so that you don't have the energy to do anything else.
Right.
So that's a very good point. I think that's one of the things I get out of every one of these presentations from the Seating and Positioning Clinic is that idea of endurance and how we're trying to preserve a person's ability to, have stamina enough to do other things besides just operate or
Right.
to operate across the course of a day.
Right. And also too, it makes her less dependent and more independent. She doesn't have to, if she doesn't have the strength to propel her manual wheelchair, it's up to her caregivers to push her from room to room or, out in the community. And with power, she doesn't have to worry about it. She can do it.
Well, that's one of the things she brought up herself, was that it made her feel more independent. And I think that is certainly something that everybody really wants to be able to do. And really, I think is one of the aims of all clinical services, essentially across all disciplines, is really to help people feel more independent, more free to do the things that they want to be able to do. And it seems like, Charlene, it seems like you've been able to accomplish that.
Yes. Yes.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, I'm proud of you for what you've been able to do. And this is a great thing. And that you're able to do your, volunteer job and all those things, that you're able to do independently now that you used to have somebody help you with. That's it. That's amazing. And I'm really glad that the seating and positioning clinics were able to help you accomplish that.
Yeah, they always have a very good friend.
And Danielle's been a great therapist for you, hasn't she?
Yeah. She's a good sister too.
Well, and she mentioned that you guys are friends, not just therapists, but also she's not just your therapist, but your friend too.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Danielle, any other comments, or I hope I'm not cutting off too short. Or did you have anything else that you wanted to present to us?
No, the only thing that I saw a comment on here about somebody was asking about her weight loss. Melissa might have some better info than me because, after we spec a chair and then usually there's a little bit of a wait. I actually don't think that we even waited very long for her. I feel like if I'm remembering correctly, and I have told you that I have children and I've slept since then, but I'm pretty sure we only had to wait like 3 weeks or a month to get her chair. So there wasn't a very long hold there. If I'm remembering right, right after she got the new chair is when she had started to lose some of the weight, and she just kind of changed her diet, and that helped a lot with her back pain. This time it didn't affect the fit of her chair, so it's not like the back was too wide or the seat was too wide. Everything still fit okay, so that worked out well. And obviously, if that were the case, then we would have to go back through the vendor and try to get something different that would work for her. But the equipment that we got has worked so well so far. Do you want to tell them about how much weight you've lost?
I lost 75 pounds.
Did you say 75?
Yes.
Whoa, that is impressive.
I had a breast reduction too that was 8 pounds.
Are you getting so? Were you telling us what you ate to lose that weight?
Lots of salads and lots of water.
She's got lots of salads and lots of water.
Lots of what was the first thing?
Salads.
Salads and lots of water. So that's how you lose the weight. Because I know there's a bunch of people out there who are very interested in your advice on this, including me. So I'm going to take you up on that and start eating more salads and drinking more water.
Melissa is the food police. Melissa is the food police.
She likes to call me her food police.
Repeat that one more time, Melissa.
She likes to call me her food police. I'm
Oh.
the food police. I'm the one that says, now, that's not on your diet. Is that something you really want to do? And try to make really healthy choices. And I got to say, she's done amazing in the last 2 years. I mean, she has really went above and beyond. She loves the fact that she's able to move around better now.
Yeah.
Come really
Well,
far with
So now she calls you the food police, but I think you sound like more of a food encourager.
Yeah.
Yeah, she helped me.
Yeah. It's always good to have a partner to help you, isn't it, Charlene? Yeah. And so,
You've been in the doctor. I will not lose my weight that I would have lost.
it was a group effort, but with group effort, she's done amazing and she's come a long way and continues to hold it off.
well, that's super.
I'm proud to hold it off.
Well, listen, I am so happy to have gotten to meet you today.
And me too.
You're a wonderful person, and you've had so many accomplishments. You're so much more independent now. You've lost weight. You've just done things I think everybody wants to do.
Yes.
You
Look for me on my Facebook. Look for me on Facebook.
oh, Facebook. Okay, we'll look you up on Facebook, and so you might get some friends out of this on Facebook. That'd be great.
Yeah. Somebody wait for you.
Karen, is there anything else you want to add at this point? Just checking in.
I don't think so. That was fantastic. You have a great story, Charlene. Thank you so much for sharing it.
And
Davis, do you want me to read some of the comments?
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, please do.
You're fine.
I thought we had gotten them.
Some of them were for
ahead of myself.
Charlene, so I wanted to make sure that we got to the ones that were for her. So
Yeah,
Selena
yeah.
says, Charlene, I am so happy for you. It must feel really good to be able to get around more places without help.
Yeah, it is.
We had one question. This may be for Danielle. Are there certain time limits or a schedule for how long a person or Charlene can remain in the chair?
Usually, the agencies kind of have their own policies, but generally for the people that we support, usually people are repositioned every 2 hours. That's, the general rule, I guess.
All right. And Jerry says, congrats, Charlene, on the wheelchair. I can't wait until we are able to restart the focus group meetings and see you in your new chair.
Jerry Winters.
Hey, thank you.
Sarah says, Charlene, great job. Pleasure to meet you and hear your story. And Selena said, can Charlene share her does she want to share her last name so we can look her up on Facebook?
My name is Charlene Marie McCarter.
Carter?
Mick Carter.
Yeah.
Mick Carter, McCarter. Mick Carter.
Charlene McCarter. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna be looking it up right after this meeting's over.
Charlene Marie.
And well, Charlene, thank you so much for being here today. Danielle, thank you also for your contribution. And Melissa, thank you for being here as well. You guys are just great. I just love every one of these stories I hear from the seating and positioning clinics because they are inspiring. I mean, it's really inspiring to hear from you, Danielle, and Charlene and Melissa, all of you. So I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having us, and thank you for letting us share her story today. It's good for everybody to hear. Great success story for her, and what a difference its Power Mobility has made for her.
And we share stories like this all the time on the Clinical Consultation Network. This is something we do on a very regular basis. So I invite everybody to come back and see us again next week because we're going to have another presentation that's going to be really great too. So I really appreciate you all being here. We do this every Tuesday at 12:30 Central Time, the Clinical Consultation Network. Hope to see you again next week.